Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric and another day of Countdown to Christmas 2021. Today's topic is earrings, or as those of us who knit and crochet call them, stitch markers. And they can also be used as project markers, or progress, I should say, markers. So a few years ago, I started noticing on some of the knitting, specifically on the knitting videos that I was watching, the vlogs, that people were using something a little different than the little plastic safety pins that I have a tendency to use to mark the front of a sock versus the back of a sock. Or when I make sweaters, I use them to mark what row. So every 20 rows, I'll put a marker just so that I don't have to keep counting over and over again. But I started noticing people having these little dangly markers that looked kind of jewel-like. Oftentimes they had little charms on them. And so I decided to make some a year or two ago. I may have actually made a video last year on making these. I can't remember, but if I did, I'll put a little card up here showing it. And if I didn't, it must have just been something I was planning to do and then forgot. So I started making little stitch markers, and last Christmas I decided I needed to make some of these progress markers, stitch markers for my kids, and started branching out a little bit with the kind of gems and stuff that I used. Because I will tell you, the little glass beads like these can be, I just dropped that on the ground. These little glass beads, they gave me bits of fits. I kept breaking them. So they weren't really what my hands wanted to deal with. So instead, I took the plunge because I kept seeing all these cute stitch markers, progress markers, look things like sheep. So I started purchasing the charms that you would have on charm bit bracelets in order to make them. And I'm going to show you a bunch of those. But I also, in the machine embroidery world, saw a number of people using the same earring supplies to make earrings that they had embroidered. And the first one that I did, I wanted it to look like a Christmas bauble. And when it got done, I think it looks like the Death Star in Star Wars. But so those were some of my first attempts at these are actually stitched on vinyl. So that was some of my first attempts. Then I tried some that are done kind of freestanding lace, just stitching. They're supposed to be little books. They kind of look like little books. So I did some books because I'm an avid reader, and my daughter is currently working in a library. And while she was in college, she worked in the college library. So I thought little books could be fun. So those were my first attempts. Oh, and then last year or the year before, whenever, I think it was 2 years ago, I was making these first ones. 2 years ago. But I made some Frosty the Snowmans. And these are just simple on the back. I painted on the back so that they kind of had a little bit of a finish. But these guys are a little on the big side, so when you wear them, they really show up. So I made those, and of course I made this little tiny thing. So he's an itty bitty one, and he's really interesting. So if you're looking for a quick craft project, this is an old hair clip from my grandma's days. And what I did is on the back of this little guy, and it's just felt on the back, I put a couple slits so that this clip could go through it, and there's a magnet stuck on the back. So he sits on my fridge, and he can hold a little note. He could be cute on the Christmas tree too, honestly. So those were some of the first ones that I did. And they were a lot of fun. But last year, as I said, I wanted to make more stitch markers and progress markers. And so I did, and I'm going to be showing pictures because I have a number of these to share with you, and I'll be trying to have a little slideshow as I'm talking about these in case I forget to show some of the ones I've done. But last year I started making stitch markers, and I made some for my daughter, I made some for my son, I made some that kind of met their personalities, and so the charms that I purchased really were charms that kind of fit their personality. So this year, making my little sheep, that's something I wanted to make just for me. These, I'm not sure how well these are going to show up. So again, I have photos of them all. But then I also, you notice here, this year I decided I needed snowflakes. But I didn't want to just move away from the machine embroidery and only go into little glass beads, which I've actually had these for a few years, a few years, and finally figured out a way to use them. Little glass beads, or you know, what is it? The snowflakes. I wanted to try a little bit of something different this year, and so did my daughter. And so that little snowman, little Frosty the Snowman that I did him up on felt, and he is now tinier. So just to show you the difference, he's a little bit tinier, works a little bit better as an earring. But my husband likes tie tacks, and we like pins of all sorts. So in his case, he has a little tie tack back on him. So I made some Frosties. I made a set of gingerbread guys. Some little tiny gingerbread guys. Those are actually on wool felt. Was recycling, I think, a pair of old pants. So my daughter kind of got interested in doing some of these as well. And we have some, let me go over here. There we go. Maybe you can see it. Some freestanding lace ones. Of course, you have to have them in multiple Christmas colors, of course. So we made some freestanding lace. We've got some snowmen. We've got some gingerbread men. And a really fun one that was a free design that the Brilliance embroidery software shared is little lace, or freestanding lace fringe. And so my daughter made up a set of those. And these are really interesting because you can have them hooked directly onto the earring, dangly, but you can also put a stud through the hole that is at the top of the earring itself. So this shows you two different ways of having stud earrings. Studs that are dangly, studs that just go through the hole themselves, or you can use these kind of clamshell type. So we've had fun making earrings this year, and my daughter really loves wearing dangly earrings, so those are going to be well used. But I started thinking about, well, what if you don't have, jewelry findings are easy enough to do, and so the stitch markers, like some more little snowflakes, okay, or the little charm heart. Those are really easy. Those you don't have to have any specific, other than basic jewelry findings, jewelry pliers. Those are pretty easy to make on there. You don't need an embroidery machine. You don't need anything fancy. But it started me thinking, are there other ways to make earrings for other types of crafters, for people who are into paper crafting? And of course there are. I ended up finding, and I'll put the name of the type of glass bead here, because I'm not going to try to pronounce it and get it wrong and confuse people. But I just this week, and I'll have a picture that shows them better, just this week figured out how to make these wonderful little earrings and accompanying tie tack. Okay. These are craft papers. This is wrapping paper, and that's wrapping paper. And oh my goodness, how fun are those? I am sure in upcoming videos I will be wearing many of these types of earrings. But isn't that really a fun thing? And you can purchase these in earring form. You can buy them in pendant form. You can buy them in, I saw them in as a ring. And so it's Mod Podge paper and a glass stone bead on top. My mind was blown. What a fabulous thing. And so when I'm having a little bit more time where I can talk my daughter into doing it because she likes working with fiddly things, I'm thinking of shrinking down little pictures and having them inside of these little gems. So that's my new 2021 discovery. And yes, there's tons of videos showing how to do this, because the one that I was looking at earlier, I see it looks like 2019 it was trending big time. But I was just so taken with these. And the way, here's a quick tip. The way I made this a tie tack, because I can't find this style in a tie tack form, I took the earring and I snipped off the earring back. So the spoke for the earring, I snipped it off, and then I glued it onto a tie tack base. Didn't need to buy anything different. So now I can make tie tacks. My husband was really intrigued with this one because he likes to not only have the tie tacks, but he likes to make them. And he's been playing around with making little tiny wood tie tacks. So he was quite intrigued with this. And oh my goodness, I saw one where they were doing marbling with fingernail polish on the glass. And I'm thinking, how about I marble on paper and then punch out the paper, and voila. So I'm going to have my daughter sit down and see about making some of these. Fast and easy, and if you need just a quick gift to give, or better yet, if you have young people with more dexterity in their hands coming over and you want to have them work on something, what a wonderful, fun project. And a very inexpensive one in order to get quite a number of pieces out of it. I think for maybe about $20 in supplies, you can make 50 sets of earrings. You can have a different set of earrings for every week of the year, for every day of the year, if you really wanted to. So that was my 2021 discovery, and I was just really thrilled with that. One of the other things I've done, whoops, I just flew a gingerbread boy everywhere. Tie tacks are really great as well. So when you have something that's really decorative, when you've done the work, whether it is something that you've hand sewn, whether it's something you've done with machine, if it is a crochet, you know what? You can put tie tack backs on them. And then what we do with these is we clip them on our curtains. So the things you make, I know my grandma used to make hand crocheted doilies all the time, and she'd stiffen them with starch. And so if you made small crocheted snowflakes and you stiffened them with starch, you could glue on the back of them tie tacks and then have them on your curtains. You could have them put magnets on the back and have them on your fridge. A fun project. But talk about fun projects. My daughter made, and I'll be showing, I think, some more later in the countdown, later in Vlogmas, but she made this itty bitty little guy, and his family will show up a little bit later on. But he's a pom-pom. He's a pom-pom penguin. And he was itty bitty and tiny. And he has a tie-tack back on him. So there's your Christmas decoration. Who needs a Christmas sweater? Or who needs a This goes on any Christmas sweater, and you now have a Christmas sweater. So I wanted to show him because, again, inexpensive, fun to make, and you don't need a ton of time learning skills or time spent in it. But I wanted to finish really quickly with one of the earliest earrings I made years ago, and I made it not as an earring, but I made it as a Christmas ornament, and I made a whole set of these. And again, I'll show a picture, but let me see if I can get him up close to the camera. He has a little bell, a gigantic earring hook that I can't even imagine trying to wear. But doesn't he make the sweetest little Christmas ornament for a tiny tree? And I am actually going to set him, maybe right here. Oops, here we go, on this branch right here. And now he's on the tree. So that's the guy I made a number of years back. Very simple. I do not have really intense jewelry making skills. I tend to drop a lot of things on the ground, and I definitely have learned that there are certain days that I do not even attempt it. But it is a lot of fun, and I get a lot of joy out of making these little tiny things, especially when you pick up charms that fit the people you're giving them to. But you know, if you have the ability to make them, if you want to have the fun making them, they really do. Where's this one? They really do make fun progress markers and stitch markers. And they make fun gifts for your knitting circle, your crochet circle. They're fun. So sometimes the most whimsical things are the funnest things, and it's a quick project. It is not something that takes a great amount of time, and we all need those kind of projects during the holiday season, because we do tend to, as crafters, sometimes overwhelm ourselves with the things we want to get done, and having quick and easy projects that we can just sit down and listen to some, fun music and calmly just put earrings together. It is a joyful way to spend a few hours during the day. So I hope that this has inspired you and helps you remember that sometimes the greatest gifts that we are giving to our friends and family are the simplest ones. The joy of making is definitely the gift we get at Christmas. And I hope that you are having an opportunity to unwind with fiber and fabric, and in this case, charms, and find that joy of making, that joy of creating something to pass on to friends and families, and maybe even just people you meet. So I hope you're having a blessed day, and we'll see you tomorrow.